Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? The New Jersey Devils fall once again, their fourth loss in a row to the Winnipeg Jets, to the abysmal Winnipeg Jets. That you can't even say that at this point. You have to use that adjective to describe the New Jersey Devils at this point. 4-3 loss on the road in Winnipeg. They fall to 22, 21, and 2 on the season. They are 14, 20, and 2 since that 8-game winning streak ended. Um, I can't talk about any of this till I know that we are live. So somebody let me know in the comment section below if we are live, and then I will go. Okay, Zach Chin says that we are sadly live. The New Jersey Devils have quit on the season. If that wasn't evidenced by that terrible I almost said fourth period, third period that they had, I don't know what else will convince you. They're waiting, they're itching for some sort of significant change. And no, Dougie Hamilton being a healthy scratch is not the change that will satisfy that itch. This team has given up until they fire one of Sheldon Keefe or Tom Fitzgerald. That move should come tomorrow. That move should come right now. If this organization had any respect, any standards anymore, then that move would have been made. After the 9-0 loss, after the 9-0 drubbing at the hands of the New York Islanders. And now it's even worse. I don't know how many times this team can hit rock bottom. They just reached yet another new low with this loss to Winnipeg, who entering the game, I know that they won their last game, but they were on an 11-game losing streak, I think it was, just a handful of days ago. So, yeah, terrible game. Another one for the Devils. Another one for the books. But before we get into any of this, guys, let's thank our friends over at Newspine for sponsoring us here on Speaking of the Devils with 7 locations. They are New Jersey's leading institute for minimally invasive spine surgery. Live your best life pain-free. Visit newspine.com. That's NU-spine right up here, NU-spine.com to find a location near you. Tell you a team that could use some fixing of their backbone. That's the New Jersey Devils. They could use new spine for that. Again, I haven't always been in the biggest blame Sheldon Keefe guy. You guys have known that if you guys have paid attention at all to the stream. But one shot in 13 minutes in a third period where you're tied 3-3 in what is every game is a must-win game for this team now. But this is the most must-win of all. It seemed like. Against the last place Jets too. Come on. This is a team that's begging for a huge change. Keefe should go. Fitzgerald should go before Keefe because the firing of Keefe is way too easy of an excuse for him. He doesn't deserve to have that as a scapegoat. But the bottom line is they both probably at this point should be gone. I don't even think that's like I don't even like. I feel like this is we're kind of beyond the point of this just being even an unpopular opinion or anything like that. Like this is now I just feel like this is just the consensus, right? So yeah, look, we can go period by period. I know that you guys want to keep a big picture, but I feel like this one was kind of close enough to where we can go a little bit goal by goal. And we'll start with Alex Iafallo. He got a really bad break for the Devils. They had a nice, decent penalty kill there. And right when it turned back to even strength, right when I think it was Gritzuk came out of the box, you just had a brutal sequence from Shimon Nemitz there. This one was on him. He ripped it around the boards there, I think it was, turned it right back over to Winnipeg. Then in coverage, the puck deflects off him and into the net. The Devils have given up the first goal in 27 out of 45 games this season. That's another sign I feel like not being able to get off to these hot starts, these first 5 minutes of the game. I know we've talked about that a lot. Have been so dreadful for the Devils this year. So I feel like that's another knock on Sheldon Keefe as well. If we're really gonna start turning the heat up on him. Luckily, there were some good responses in this game. Nico Hischier scored 37 seconds later with 33 seconds to go in the period. It was like Luke, I think, fired off from the left face-off dot. Nico was able to clean it up in front, just kind of a nice little messy goal from him. So nice response. Like this showed me that, okay, the Devils are at least not going to give up. And they did it like a couple times here. Okay, Cody Glass then gets the next goal, redirects a Luke Hughes shot again. Nicely done off the rush. He rushed in off the bench. Kind of went uncovered. Luke Hughes gets his second assist, 2 primary assists in his 200 games, so that's really good. But then Winnipeg ties it up. I think it was like a minute and a half later. It was Taves and Perfetti there, odd man rush on the blue line because of another Nemitz screw up. So bad effort from him all day around. Terrible back check there. And again, Taves is able to lead Perfetti there with a nice little backhanded feed. Siegenthaler then scored, called back for goalie interference. So you don't really need to discuss that too much. But 3 goals in 2 minutes and 23 seconds at that point. And so that goal was called back, and then Cody Glass is able to score again. He was on hat trick watch. Kovacevic with a really nice feed from the neutral zone, kind of ripped it to the corner there. Jack Hughes picks it up. He shot it. Cody Glass is able to clean up the rebound there. So nice effort from him. Nicely done. 2 goals. He went goalless in his last 6 games, so for him to get 2 goals is a nice little feather in the cap for depth scoring. But I guess it really doesn't even matter right now because the team is just so terrible. And evidenced by the fact that Gabe Velarde was able to score shortly thereafter. He won a little nice little battle in front with Brendan Dillon. He kind of just pivoted around him and was able to bat inside. So that's not ideal for the Devils right there. And then Pearson gets what was eventually the game winner. Dirty goal in front of the net. Someone has to tie the stick up there. Devils aren't able to do it because it looks like they've quit. And this goal was just emblematic of something else. That's just rotten. I've used the word rotten to describe the Devils right now. That's what they seem to be. I feel like this goal is emblematic of that because the fact that I think whoever set it up, I think it was Morrissey, was able to just coast through the neutral zone completely undefended. Just zipped his way through there. Again, nobody even near him. I think Luke was the only one that was kind of in good position, but we're grasping at straws here. So between that effort and then the effort on the offensive end where they're outshot 8-1 in the first 13 minutes, and I think, let's see how many shots they ended up with in that third. Ended up with 6 shots, but they get outshot in a do or die third period where looks like your coach's job is on the line. So yeah, another terrible one for the New Jersey Devils. But let's get into your comments here, guys. Really quick before we get into the comments, wrong finger up. Do you like the little Are We Live thing there? Yeah, you like that, don't you? That's nice. New studio. I did just recently move. I'm now in Allentown, New Jersey. It's a little programming update there. I might just keep this as my studio. I might tweak with something else and really have it kind of Devils theme, but we'll see. We don't care about that right now. Let's get to your wonderful comments. And we already have a lot of super chats. So we start here with Steve KS. Can't even beat the Jets, so Fitz can talk to LeBron, but not you, Ryan. Conclusion, Fitz is afraid of you. Devils hockey equals Auburn football. Wow. Does that mean that they're going to get who did Auburn just hire? Auburn, because my school wanted to hire him too. What's his name? Alex Golish, yeah. So hopefully, look, if we're going to use the Auburn football example, Auburn was at least self-aware enough to make some significant changes and move on from their coach. Let's see if the Devils can do the same because they have to move on from a coach and a GM because things are a complete train wreck right now. Steve KS, thank you for supporting the channel on that level. Look, at this point, and I don't know anything, but I honestly I feel like we have to expect that Fitzgerald will either talk soon or he'll get fired. That's just the obvious assumption right now. I know that history would prove that he probably wouldn't talk, but things are so dire that even he feels like I feel like even he would have some self-awareness that he will end up talking. But it was interesting to see that he answers LeBron there. Moving on, and thank you again, Steve KS. $20 super chat. Cannot thank you enough for supporting the channel on that level, my man. Alexander Johns. There's no argument that they've completely quit in the season at this point. Winnipeg is awful, but they still looked better than us. They looked far better than us. There's no question about that. Look, especially in that third period, again, it's do or die, and Winnipeg looked good all night. And look, there's a couple things that went wrong here tonight, right? It's sloppy on the offensive zone. Terrible defense in the neutral zone. Bad goaltending. Bad night from Jake Allen, who gets his second start in a row. You think tonight was bad? Get ready for tomorrow whenever Jacob Markstrom, whose confidence is completely shot and is just bad in general, has to go up against the buzzsaw that is the Minnesota Wild. There's a chance that tomorrow ends up being one of the most embarrassing nights in this once proud franchise's history. That's how much of a drubbing this could be, because that's how little confidence I have in the New Jersey Devils right now, and that's how much the Wild are rolling, and that's how much this team has quit. So barring any sort of significant change, which I don't know that we'll see on the second half of back-to-back, I think that tomorrow could get very, very ugly for your New Jersey Devils. Let's move on. Thank you, Alexander, for supporting the channel on that level. Official Denny's Yalcin. This live stream is the only excitement left. Thank you, Dennis. That made my day. Thank you, Novo. One, how close are we to the record for trailing behind first? Second, what do you think is rock bottom if they are not firing anyone yet? As I learned and I guess me covering the Giants was actually ended up being a good thing, because it really prepared me for the dumpster fire that is this Devils season last year. This year, but covering the Giants last year was good preparation for that. As I learned so well, it could always get worse. It could always get worse. So don't think that this is rock bottom. I know that my thumbnail for this episode says that it's rock bottom. Another new low for the Devils. It could always get worse. And tomorrow night is the obvious one that you circle and wonder if it's going to get worse there. I don't know off the top of my head. I would have it takes a lot of annoying like searching through the NHL stat site. But I promise you, Dennis, I will have an answer for you by the next live stream. But we can look at the Devils are now tied for 5th with the Ottawa Senators in terms of the trailing first category this year. The Nashville Predators are first, 31. Flyers have trailed first, 29 games. Canucks 28, Ducks 28. Ottawa Senators and New Jersey Devils 27. So they're climbing up the charts there. So if you want to be on top of that chart, which you obviously do not, but at least hey, they're leading. They're almost at the top of the league in one category. There you go. Let's move on. Thank you again, Dennis. I appreciate that. I appreciate your kind words too, my man. Zach Chin, question of the day: is it time to move on from Brad Shaw? It's time to move on and make wholesale changes from everyone. I know Brad Shaw is pretty well respected throughout the league, and the early results in this season were tremendous with him. That said, I don't know how you can look at this and think that it was anything other than a mistake to move on from Ryan McGill to him. Ryan McGill, who by all accounts, and I did some digging on this, was very well respected in that locker room. By current and former players alike. I think that was a case of Keefe wanting to, shake things up in that department and wanting to implement his two-way style a little bit more. And he gets Shaw in there to really shore up things defensively. But there's an argument to be had that Brad Shaw is sitting there, and the way that he coached up Dougie this year, and the way that Sheldon coached up Dougie this year. There's a reason Dougie's out of the lineup, and obviously the main reason is that he refused to waive his no-move clause, but they kind of bizarrely forced him to play this two-way style, which is not his game, but he actually did a pretty bang-up job of implementing it in his game. But now, the points haven't been there, so that's why they scratch him, and for beyond other reasons why they scratch him too. But to answer your question, is it time to move over from Brad Shaw? Yes, and he's not the only one that whose head should roll. I feel like if they're too afraid to make some sort of significant change right now, at least throw the fan base a bone, at least throw your team a bone by firing an assistant coach and shaking things up in some sort of meaningful way, right? But we see how inactive the Devils are right now. So whether that will happen or not, we shall see. Alexander Johns, once again, thank you so much. How do we even fix goaltending at this point? Allen is mediocre and Markstrom is outright terrible. We're stuck with both of them for years. Yeah, and you notice how if and when Fitzgerald speaks next, I think the first question you have to ask is or one of the first questions, because there's a million first questions that you could have in this one. Colorado was able to reinvent their goaltending situation, ironically, with two former Devils goalies. Colorado was able to do it in such a short span of time. They made their mistakes, Georgiev and everything like that, and they were able to quickly fix that mess. How are the Devils going to fix this mess? the obvious answer, in the immediate future is you fire Dave Rogalski, who probably should have been fired 3 years ago, right? As for long-term fixes, I mean, look, I don't. I'm at a loss for words in how in what they're going to do to get out of this, because right now, like, unless you create another buyout window, you can't even buy out Mark Strom, so you're going to have to do that in the offseason. Allen, I think, will be fine. I think, Allen had a bad game today, and things haven't been good for him of late, but they clearly trust him enough to roll him out 2 games in a row, at least over Markstrom, and I know that's a pretty low bar. Look, it's going to take some significant tinkering from the GM there to fix this goaltending situation, and the GM that is currently in charge should not be the one to do it. It should be somebody else, because it's just look, the Devils are a total mess right now. Let's move on. Now we're going to go to the regular chats. So we'll go in here. We start with Christopher P. When is someone going to say enough is enough and clean house? This team shouldn't be that bad. I don't get it. Yeah, and look, it's a good point. And you clean house in upper management, meaning Tom Fitzgerald and Sheldon Keefe for sure. Scouting department too, it needs to be on the hot seat as well. Look, the other thing too is more and more over the past couple of games, I've wondered about this core, right? Because I was of the belief that, okay, a GM is going to come in here, not to equate them to the Giants again, but like a GM will come into the reason the Giants should have fired their GM is because a GM should want to come into this team and look at it as a prized opportunity, right? You got a core of Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier and all these other guys. Who wouldn't want an opportunity to right these wrongs and build around him? Well, I feel like the players have shown you, and the dramatic fashion that the star players have gone cold, they've shown you that things are rotten in that room. Not only that, they've shown you that maybe they're not the ones that should be trusted. Maybe you should go and trade a Jesper Bratt. Maybe you shouldn't go trade a Nico Hischier. I'm not saying that it would be smart, but it would be something. Because as of right now, I mean, this team is just showing you nothing other than they're a mediocre mess that continuously gets bailed out by coaches getting fired, and that will probably end up be what happens to Keefe, I would imagine, right? Especially with this cold of a stretch happening, and if this continues, the schedule's not getting any easier. So yeah, that's what I would say is that you have to have a significant look at this core. Zach Chin likes the Are We Live side. I keep putting up because it's like it's reversed my screen. Zach Chin likes the Are We Live side. I love it. It's good stuff. Alexander Johns. Winnipeg is not good. Winnipeg aren't good, but they are better than us for sure right now. Let's see. Carter Sweeto Nez says, bro, Devil's been stinking. We need to fire Sheldon Keefe. You need to fire a lot of people there, Carter. Sheldon Keefe will probably end up being the first scapegoat, I would guess right now, and that's just based on gut feeling more than anything. And the fact of the matter is that he's just, he understands that his job security is now at risk, right? And the immediate move that teams usually make is they fire their coach first, and then they end up firing their GM. I wonder at this point, do we end up just seeing both, or at the bare minimum, you just see Keefe first, but I don't know. Tyler Siva, I'll say it again. If we want to run tankathons, McKenna is the last guy we need. He will just add to the soft culture we have. I'm glad you mentioned that, Tyler, because I was going to do this. Little tankathon. Let's do it, baby. Let's see how long it takes for us to get the Devils to the number one pick. We will refresh. Oh, my gosh, man. The Devils are at 10th right now. 10th. The 10th. Best odds at the number one overall pick. Let's sim the lottery, see how quickly we can take to get the Devils near the top there. 1, 2. Ooh, look at that. Bang. 3. Ooh, cursed outcome for the Devils. Stay at 10. Okay. Second, we'll take second, right? I want to get to first. I know this is very entertaining stuff, but this is the point of the season that we're at. Where we're just refreshing this till we could see when the Devils get Gavin McKenna. We don't have to go this all day. We'll end on that because it's the Rangers and You guys will probably get mad about that. Yeah, look, McKenna right now has not had the best of seasons. I understand that. I want to see what's the latest mock draft because I know that people are talking about Stenberg a lot lately. Yeah, Avar Stenberg, Keaton Verhoff, the right shot defenseman from North Dakota. Yeah, I mean it's a good draft, but you just wonder like what Devils certainly shouldn't be trading their first pick. That's for damn sure. Let's move on. Oh, we have another super chat. Zach Chin says, I know it won't happen, but what about Keefe for head coach and GM? If Fitz is fired and Keefe stays on, he said he knows what the team needs. I saw this tweet the other day that you sent me there, Zach. I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no just because he doesn't have experience in that department. I get that. I just don't think that the results from Keefe so far warrant. There's not enough there that it warrants. Like, all right, we're going to give you full reins. We're not only do you keep your coaching job, you get promoted and you get to be GM too. You got personnel say. I think they'd go in a different direction. I think you'd have an interim in and obviously, if they fire Fitz, they'd have an interim in the meantime, and then after that, the top names on their list would have to be Sonny Mehta, Cheka, man, a couple other names out there. I mean, but those are the two that I feel like you have to look at as being the hot candidates if they do wind up doing that. Let's move on. If they lose tomorrow, you would hope to make a change before they come home. Yeah, and you know what? I said to Daniel Lamoya in Pittsburgh of the Hockey Writers, I said, this little road trip is now starting to remind me of that West Coast road trip right before Lindy got fired, where if they let Lindy coach that next game, I forget who they were playing. I think it was like the Flames or something like that. If they let him go out there and face the audience, face the crowd, it would have just been the most raucous environment ever. And I don't think the Devils wanted any business with that. So maybe that's you fire Sheldon because fans won't publicly see Fitzgerald. But right now it's things are that bad to where you have to wonder that. I feel like maybe a win against Minnesota would calm things down a little bit, but either way, the vibes have been so bad lately that you're getting some significant chance. Like I might just come watch the game down in the crowd just to see what that atmosphere is like. Write a story on it afterwards. We have another super chat. Poopy Duty, my man, says the worst part is if the Devils keep losing, they can't even really become true sellers because of all the no move clauses, no trade clauses. Who could they really move? I guess the counter argument there, Poopy Duty, is that the players that have those no move clauses, no trade clauses would probably end up waiving in that reality because the Devils are just so bad right now. Like, kind of a win-lose situation. You lose because you're losing on the you're losing games, but win if this was all worth it to get off these no move clauses. I know that we are grasping at the lowest. We're scraping bottom barrel to try to find any sort of silver lining with this the way the Devils have stunk it up lately. But yeah. I mean, who could you really move? I feel like Mercer's the one you look at right now, just because I don't think he has any no trade protection, or he has very limited no trade protection, from what I understand. Can't remember at the top of my head, and I don't feel like looking it up right now. And then some of these other guys that might just start cascading, like maybe Palat. I don't know who would take him right now, but maybe Palat would waive if some contender convinced themselves that he was exactly what they needed. Dime Season just sends $5 just to say sigh. Yeah, I think a lot of Devils fans are have that in their mind right now. There, Dime Season. I appreciate you supporting the channel on that level. D0 Beats again. Novo, can you get the owners to speak? I can request it. I'll tell you this. Last time it was right around the Quinn trade. I didn't speak to the ownership in general, and I'm not going to tell you exactly who I spoke to, but it was someone pretty high up there in the Devils brass that spoke on, that Fitzgerald was safe as of now, and they, gave him the vote of confidence. Where that stands right now, because the Devils have lost 4 games in a row and they've been abysmal. What are they, 2-8-1 in their last 10 games or something like that. I would imagine that frustrations are mounting. Steve K asked 12 minutes into the third before they even got a shot on goal. Yeah, that's really bad. We mentioned that off the top, but yeah, that's unacceptable. The MSG Vault, the slow starts and random bad periods have been a core issue. They happened under Lindy too. You can fire Keefe, but this team needs to rebuild. Plus, fire everyone in management. Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, I don't even think that's like the hot take anymore. I think that's just the rational take. Like, you make wholesale changes right now. That's a game that probably should spark it. Probably won't, because they're going to be they have a back-to-back tomorrow. But you circle that calendar for that Tuesday before, after they leave Minnesota and before they have a game against the Seattle Kraken there on Wednesday, a home game. Things are going to get ugly if no significant change is made by then, barring like a 20-0 win over the Minnesota Wild. Pulp Mystic, if this organization had any standards, they would fire Fitz before Keefe. Agreed completely. It would just be so easy for Fitz to get off in that, to get off with another coaching change. I just think that's too convenient for him with the job that he's done, which has been completely pathetic. He's a complete disadvantage as a GM. And I can't believe that Devils ownership doesn't realize that. They should have realized that weeks ago when he wasn't able to swing Quinn Hughes because he couldn't clear cap space before. But now you're seeing it even more so. Stanley says the Devils are a low-class, second-rate organization. Even if you don't like Hamilton, Fitzgerald's handling of his contract is despicable. Didn't even bother watching because I'm so disgusted. Well, I appreciate you tuning in, Stanley, to getting your Devils recap from the stream here. Yeah, I thought the handling of it was bad. I talked to a player last week. This was in last week's newsletter, a former player, and they told me that they would consider, like, if this were to happen and like, the benching thing happens with the no trade clause and everything like that, because they're trying to pressure him. I know that the team denies that, but let's face it, like, that's just what's happening. That's the reality of things. This player told me that if they watch this happen, play out in front of them, they don't know that they would sign with the Devils. So it's a slippery slope. That this could go down. So that's just what's going on. Ben Mank, Devils are absolute trash. I love to watch them lose, never be as good as us Canes. We got a Hurricanes fan in the chat. Wow. This guy rebuttals, but Jabba the Hutt rebuttals. Sorry, Jabba the Hutt 6969. Let me put some respect on your name. Canes losing 4-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals again. Yeah, could happen. Devils down under. The downward slide of this team over the last 6 weeks is catastrophic. Never seen such a pathetic, inept squad. Yeah, let's see. That's a good point. Let's see the Devils' record exactly in that last 6 weeks. So we're going back to November 30th, Sunday, November 30th. Devils' record since they are 6-13-1 since that time. Devils down under. Pathetic. Pulp Mystic. Hughes turns the puck over almost every time he touches the puck. He needs to go back on IR. It's pointless to play him. It is starting to get pointless to play him. I know that the division race is so tight, but again, the Devils are not, giving you anything to dispel the notion that they're going to turn this thing around. Not giving you any reason to believe that. But look, the reality right now is that I feel like, even Jack injured right now, they still feel like they need him. And I thought today he actually had one of his better games, at least early on. But yeah, I understand the frustration of understanding that Jack probably came back too early. Like, if we think about the 6 week, actually, yeah, the 6 week timeline was supposed to be today. The 6 week timeline, I think, was supposed to be today. Because I remember doing a story at the time, like the latest Jack could return is this January 11th date against the Jets. So, yeah. I mean, look, let's see what they end up doing. Pulp Mystic look good today. Yeah, for sure. Gets 2 primary assists in his 200th game, no less. Jane Cambros. Sorry. Great work, Ryan. Fitz making the players and coach answer reporter and not coming out From the bunker is the thing that makes me dislike him the most. Yeah, again, we'll see what ends up happening. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up speaking soon. That's not based on any sort of inside knowledge. I just, I feel like things are just getting so dire that he'll either get fired or he'll speak on this soon because he has to. Like, he'll look like a complete coward if he doesn't. And the fact that, he has, the fact that he's let, Keith and guys like Luke, guys like Nico, I mean, the whole team, look, they're millionaires, they're multimillionaires. Let's, wipe your tears with your, with your dollar bills there. But it is a shame that he's let the players and Sheldon take the, take all the accountability for this. And, while he sits up there on his perch and doesn't really do anything about it. Let's move on. Mac Boolby says Luke can't defend regardless of his offense. Yeah, no, there's no question about that. He needs to improve his defensive game. I mean, look, he needs to improve a crap ton in his game. Like this offseason, I would say work on your shot, work on defending, work on back check and everything like that. Luke Hughes needs to have a much better year. I thought he was fine today. Again, getting 2 primary assists, but my goodness, just has not been a good season for him, especially after getting paid. Alex BV, people are saying shake things up is a rash decision, but that's not true. This has been an issue back to December 2024, a major failure over a year. Sure has, and you have to start wondering if that 22-23 season was just the outlier at this point, right? And that's a sad thing to think about if you're a Devils fan because that looked so promising at the time. The team, at that time, we're talking about this team being the next Avalanche. We're talking about them being, the next, take the team back to their dynastic roots, and yet here we are. The team is near last place, 10th worst team in the league. So it's just pathetic. But guys, that will do it today. Thank you so much for tuning into us here on Speaking to the Devils. We'll be live immediately after the game, after tomorrow's game as well. So we'll see if that's a drubbing. We'll see if the Devils can bounce back. I'm leaning more towards the former. But thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you tell your friends, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.